Hi everybody. I thought that I would make an impromptu video today. I know I don't have a consistent video schedule, but I appreciate everybody who's subscribed to the channel, and I'm excited to fill in some more holes here with English pronunciation. Please feel free to reach out or add comments if you have specific interests. I'm happy to make videos based on what your needs are and what you're curious about. So today I thought it would be interesting to go over just basic English phonetics, which is the sound system of English, and talk about some of the nuances of that and why that might be helpful to spend some time learning about. So let me share my screen here. Hang on. Sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. So when speech trainers talk about phonetics, what we're talking about is the actual sounds you say when you're speaking any language. So in this case, of course, we're going to talk about the sound system of English specifically. How that compares with the sound system that you've learned is dependent on your native language, right? But this is what a phonetic chart might look like. And this is the phonetic chart for English. Let me pull up this tool so I can highlight some things. This chart has the capacity to describe sounds with any language in the world. So it has to do with where the sound is made in the mouth, bilabial, the lips, labiodental, the lips and the teeth. I guess it could go either way, whatever, right? So all these stand for different positions in the mouth. Down this side, you have different characteristics of the sound. So plosive is a burst of air. The nasal is in the nose, and fricative is continuous airflow, like something like that, right? So in English, we have puz and buzz, t and d, k and g, m, n, eng, f, v, v, s, z, sh, zh, ch, j, ya, and as our consonants. What's tricky is when we start talking about vowels. This is what's called a vowel quadrilateral. Not that anybody really cares a lot about that, but it categorizes vowels based on whether it's in the front of the mouth or the back of the mouth, whether it's high in the mouth or low in the mouth or somewhat central, right? So when we look at this vowel quadrilateral, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you've got some vowels with movement too. Well, how many vowels does English have to spell with? Let's see, A, E, I, O, U. We have five vowels in our spelling system, but we have a multitude of vowels that we actually say. And I think that's helpful to keep in mind when you're listening to English and trying to really pay attention to what vowel did you really hear versus what does it look like on the page. So let's go through these vowels. The symbols for sounds that you see in this chart, like these weird symbols here, especially, this is the International Phonetic Alphabet. It's a symbol for a sound. Doesn't always correspond to the letters. So that's what these typed ones here are. It's the International Phonetic Alphabet. I have another chart that we'll look at for that. Next to it, I have written a different sound system. And again, I'll talk about that in just a second. But let's just go over the sound. So up here, we have a very high, tight vowel, E, E. Down here, the tongue relaxes a little bit, E, I, E, I, I. A, A, ah. You can see the mouth dropping and opening, right? The tongue dropping and opening, ah. This is like if I barely move my tongue at all. And when we start talking about stress within words and sentences, very unstressed, relaxed vowel. Here we go. Ooh, my tongue's kind of tight. Ooh, really far in the front, like a W kind of sound. Kind of pull that sound back here a bit. That feels pretty central. Ah, And to me, honestly, as a speaker, these two sounds are very similar. I'm not even sure I can model them as different, but some speakers and some listeners hear these very differently, like cot, pot being different vowel sounds, but to me, they're the same. So I can't model that difference. Some other sounds, right? I, ow, oi, what, and yes sometimes act as vowels, more of like an oo and an e kind of sound in the word, depending on where it is in the syllable. Okay, so let's look at this document here. This is part of the lesson that I use if I'm teaching somebody specifically, right? We have a basic terminology page. What's a phoneme? It's a sound. It's a symbol that represents a sound, the sounds you actually say in words. Phonetics is a study of sounds. Transcription would be how we write sounds. So phonetic transcription is I'm writing the sounds we say. Syllables. If you're studying English, you have to know what a syllable is. That unit or beat in a word has to do with how many vowels are said in the word, not spelled, but said. Stress, you have to be listening for stress, which syllable stands out more than the others. Intonation and what the palate is of your mouth, whatever. I can, if people are curious about that, I can talk about, what do we call the parts of your mouth, but I don't think that's important for today. Okay, so this is an example of phonetic transcription. Here's the spelling. Here's what we say. Fox, fox. Here's the spelling. Here's what we say. B-o-t. Okay. Let's look at, this is what I really wanted to talk about today. Here's a chart for some sound symbols, some phonemes. Here's the International Phonetic Alphabet and the symbol. Now, a lot of these correspond to the English spelling system pretty well. What I think is interesting is to look at how does Google translate. So if you type a word into like Google Dictionary, what sound system are they using? There are a multitude of different sound systems, phonetic writing systems to choose from. I looked up a chart. I can't remember how many were on there. Let's even say it was seven different sound systems to choose from. So you have to choose some sound system to use. And this is where it gets really tricky. Different places choose different sound systems for how to represent those sounds in English. And then it gets really confusing as a user to know, what does this mean? What does this stand for? I've taught people the International Phonetic Alphabet for a long time, and it's just kind of confusing, especially when we look at the vowel ones. These ones, I mean, you can learn them, and there are some resources that I like to have people use that use the IPA. So having a chart like this where you can see what that translation is, basically, well, what is this? It's a ch, and what sound system would be used in Google. So I wrote the Google sound system, and then I have some other symbols on here because these are the ones that I chose to use for a few different reasons. So again, I'm not going to go over too much the ones that are very obvious. These ones here match the spelling system pretty well. IPA uses this symbol here for the ch sound. Google makes it more corresponding with the spelling. Ch. So if you put in the word chair, you're going to see it written with a CH in Google. The j sound. Here's some spellings that are common for that sound. And the Google dictionary uses the letter J for that. J. Pretty intuitive if you learn that. F, V, S, and Z match the spelling system really well. The SH sound, shh. This is the IPA, shh. Again, Google uses the most common spelling for that, shh. The zh sound. Now in English, we don't have a letter that represents this sound or a two-letter combination like SH or CH. It gets spelled differently for different words, closure, lesion, whatever. Google Dictionary uses the ZH for that. H matches TH. So the IPA uses this word symbol for TH. Now TH, right, in English, we spell the same whether it's voice off or voice on. These sounds are as different as S and Z, but we spell them the same. So in Google dictionary, you're going to see the big TH written for the voiceless, and it's going to be underlined for the voiced component. When I teach people, I just use a lowercase and an uppercase because it's easier. It's easier to type. It's faster to type. M and N match their spelling very well. Ing, again, is this weird symbol here in the IPA, and Google uses an NG. R and L, and it matches its symbols, its spelling system very well, and so does W. Now the Y is a little bit confusing in the IPA, written with a J sound. And now in some languages that J represents a yeah anyway, but in English it doesn't really do that. Google Dictionary is going to use a Y, yeah. In English, lots of varieties of English use a glottal stop. It's a stop of air here. Caught in, mount in, got one. Google Dictionary doesn't use one. I'll tend to use like a question mark sound or the IPA for that. Okay, so let's look at vowels, because this is where English gets so tricky, is when we're talking about vowels. The IPA symbol for the short I spelling sound, is a capital I. In Google, you're going to see it written just with a lowercase I. If, bid, in. IPA has this AE combination for this short A sound. In Google Dictionary, it's just a lowercase a. Glad, had, mad. Has this big kind of backwards E looking thing. In Google Dictionary, again, you'll notice this pattern. The short sounds in Google Dictionary are the lowercase, just plain lowercase letter. Letter. Bed, head, letter. Has a variety of different spellings. Is this kind of upside down V in IPA, and in Google Dictionary is going to be just a lowercase u. But, hut, above. I think this looks like a little bit of a horseshoe in the International Phonetic Alphabet. In Google, you're going to see it written with this kind of like sloping sound, this sloping thing over the double O. Foot, put, good, look, I tend to write it as a U with the slope because this symbol was too difficult for me to write with my keyboard. The sound, in the IPA. And in Google, you're going to see it written with this letter A with the 2 dots over it. Again, I didn't have that function in my writing system with my keyboard, and so I tend to write it with this O with a little caret over the top. Got, paw, caught. The schwa vowel, Google also writes it with an upside down E. Above. Gonna. Sounds very similar to this. It's just not as pronounced. So these two here, and sound very similar. One is just really reduced. One has a little more emphasis. Okay, so your E sound in the IPA, and again, I had to think about that, and I've been doing this for 20 years. E is a lowercase I, and in Google Dictionary, you're going to see it written as an E with a line over it. So that's where you get this long vowel, easy, each, she. The oo sound in IPA is just the letter U. In Google Dictionary, you're going to see it with this double O with a line over the top. Ooh, rude, to, food. I write it this way again because I didn't have that symbol option. It was too arduous. O, you're going to see as an O with a line. Represents that long vowel. I like the consistency there. A, you're going to see as a with a line over it. A. Notice the movement. A, O. A lot of these have a lot of movement. I is written this way in IPA and is an I with a line over it in Google. I. Ow. Google tends to kind of preserve the pronunciation here. I choose to write it a little bit more true to the sounds that we're saying. And ooh, ow. But if you look up a word like now in Google Dictionary, you'll see it written with this vowel combination. Oi, in IPA looks like that. In Google looks like this. I tend to write it as these O and E. That's the vowels that we say, oi. Okay. You'll also see some of these with the vowel R production. Like her, same in Google. R like star, written as this in Google. Air, written with a long A. Air, actually, Google for some reason keeps that the same. What I'm hearing, what we're saying is so I write it this way. Ire. Google doesn't have one for that. I think they use anyway. Or is written with this little symbol over it. I choose to keep it this way. Ear, Google keeps that the same. I write it with a long E because that's what we're saying. And or, Google writes this way, or, and I tend to write it with this or. Anyway, so let's look at functionally, how would this play out, right? Let's look up some words. Okay. Oops, sorry, I want to get my new tab up. Okay, so let's look up Google Dictionary. All right, so let's say you are working on your English. Close that. And you want to look up a word. Let's say the word is document. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this is how you can utilize Google Dictionary to help you learn English or check a pronunciation or something like that. It's only one word, right? It's not a sentence, but it's better than nothing. So I type in the word document and I can see the syllables, document. And then I can see how it's said. This is phonetic spelling. So then if I need to go back and check my chart, what is that A symbol stand for? Here it is. Here are some word examples. Got, paw, caught, ah. That is an ah. Da. And then you can also see that there's an E sound here. Q. Q. Mint. Document. Document. This little symbol here highlights the stressed syllable. That first syllable is the syllable we say with the most emphasis. So let's look at, I think that's on my next page. Yeah, if you see this symbol here, that's happening right before the primary stressed syllable. Together, together, together. It's going to be right before the syllable that you stress. Sometimes you'll see these other symbols used, like a lower one being secondary stress. All together, all together, all together. But primarily you're going to pay attention to this upper one. All right, so that's what that is. Document. I would actually write this differently. I would write document. But document, who cares, right? That sounds good enough. And different places in the country pronounce things differently, so it's going to be different, right? Let's look at a simple, like, everyday word that we probably use all the time, dollar. Same vowel, look at that, dollar. And you've got your primary stress syllable at the first syllable again, dollar. And then of course we can
dollar,
hear it.
dollar,
Dollar, dollar.
dollar.
Let's look at one that has second syllable stress, like, oh, am I struggling to think of a good one? I don't want to do that one. Well, let's do something like, sorry, assistance. Okay, so look at the shift in the stress marking. It's not on the first syllable. The first syllable is This syllable is stressed. Assistance. Assistance. And then of course we can
Assistance.
Assistance. Let's make sure I did share my computer sound good.
Assistance.
Assistance. Assistance. But anyway, recognizing these symbols here makes it really easy to utilize Google Dictionary to figure out how to say a word. A word that I hear people say incorrectly a lot is the word not. Super simple word, right? As far as it's like really common, really short, not a lot going on. But you'll hear speakers say note, note, because it has a letter O in it, and it's like I translate that as O. And when you look at the symbol, nah, completely different mouth position, opening, not, not. I better not. Let me check with my wife, whatever. Let's look up something fun like Halloween since it is October 20th today. Oh, here's a secondary stress. Ha, l. Here's primary stress right there. That's why you cooperate. Ween. And here's your long vowel E. Ha, l, ween. Halloween. Halloween. Let's listen to it.
Halloween.
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 Halloween. Anyway, I hope that everybody found that helpful. I tend not to share my worksheets because I use them for coaching. But let's see. I don't really see any problem with sharing this sheet. I'll figure out how to attach it to the video so that you can use it as a reference. If you're looking at a resource that uses the International Phonetic Alphabet, you'll have that written down this side. And if you're using Google Dictionary for a reference, you can see how do these two match up and have some word examples for what that might be if you're not sure what the vowel is or the sound is. And I like this spelling little cheat sheet here too. Let me know if you find it helpful and yada, yada, yada. I feel like that's the YouTube motto, right? Is let me know if you found it helpful and like the video. It really does help me know which things you're finding useful, what to spend more time on, because I really love doing this work. And I'm pretty responsive. So if you ask me to do a video, I'm probably going to do it. If I don't, it's because I missed the message, but I hope that's not the case. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Bye. I didn't even introduce myself. My name's Andrea. I own the company ClearSpeak. So I work with people doing private coaching with English.